So first of all, thank you for having me here. It's a great happiness to be in Saigon. And at the same time, I know that there is a party just after that. I will also get drunk there. So if you come, I will be happy. Thank you. And if you are planning to have like 3 or 4 drinks, make it like 8 or 10, because you will definitely need it, because our brains can actually melt down after my presentation a little bit. And today, actually, we will talk about the semantics, but everything won't be about that. We will also talk about a little bit the reason behind it. And we will also talk about the PageRank to understand the logic behind that as well. And as you already know, Googlers, usually they call the PageRank as a kind of bad word, but it doesn't have to be always a kind of bad word as well. So I will answer 2 simple questions, because after I published the topical authority case study, and after I actually conceptualized that, I just realized that some of the link building agencies, and I believe some of them were behind the comments on the YouTube video, they actually started to talk about a little bit badly about the topical authority. So first of all, I can definitely tell that I am not against buying links. So even if actually you want to sell it to me after I just go there, I will buy some. So you can come and offer some of your links as well. And at the same time, do I buy links? Yes, from time to time, I also do these type of things as well, because I am actually an holistic SEO, which means that if I'm able to realize that my website will rank higher whenever it is rainy, I will worship the rain god, so that every day, actually, I see the rain and my website actually goes higher in the rankings. So I don't have that much limitation in my SEO. Whatever works, I will be doing that. But when it comes to the actually topical authority, if you think that, does it have to make sense? So when you look at the SEO, we actually do many things, and some of these actually practices, it actually doesn't have to make sense always. For instance, in 2016 and 2017, I was actually a manager for a PBN, and I was in Istanbul, and I was in the black hat casino industry. The casino industry in Turkey, it's a little bit different because it's illegal, which means that really awful people work in that industry on that time. And I had really a good amount of PBNs on this time, like 3,000 websites, and we lost all of them in one day. Then I actually started to do some attacks on my competitor. So in black hat SEO, you always don't try to actually rank higher. Sometimes you try to make your competitor to lose rankings. So I actually tried to do some DDoS attacks on them. Then I realized that they even gained more rankings. So imagine that you do DDoS and the website increases its rankings more. Then I realized that they never sent me a DDoS attack, even if I sent them, because they already tried that. So my point here is that when you look at the SEO practices, it doesn't always have to make sense. Sometimes it just works. But if you read it, if you read the research papers, if you read the patents, or if you read the Bill Slavsky for years, every day, 7 hours, after a point you will start to get things. And in this case, I actually realized that whenever I sent DDoS attack to my websites, they were increasing their rankings because Google thought that this was actually a direct traffic to my website. I was sending basically fake traffic to my website, and Google thought that, okay, we have PageRank, we also have direct traffic, so this should be a brand, and we should actually start to rank it higher. So then I conceptualized this as rank merge. On the web, we actually have many different types of things, because, for instance, the porn websites, when you look at them, they don't have any links. No one links the porn websites. But I believe many of us here, they visit as well. So when you look at here, porn websites, they don't have PageRank, but they have traffic. Some other websites, like university websites, they have PageRank, but 0 traffic. So in a way, search engine has to find a kind of balance between PageRank and the actual traffic, so that actual links can make more sense. In my situation, I can tell that PageRank is a kind of for blind librarian. If you think about the blind librarians, you will realize that a blind librarian basically tries to understand the relevance, but they don't get the book at all. If you hold a book like a blind person, you will realize that there are some words around of the book, but you don't understand the sentences. But you have to put the book somewhere into a kind of shelf so that you can retrieve it back when it is needed. So rank merge was just a kind of helpful thing there. But if you think about the topical authority, it is not about signals that come from this PageRank that much. It's actually basically about understanding the content as much as possible. So I can also tell that when I found this concept and when actually I formalized the concept, it was a kind of actually protest, not against the link building or the link builders. It was a kind of protest actually against not understanding the search engine. If you're able to understand the search engine in a proper way, you will always be able to actually rank higher. But if you don't understand it, you can lose 3,000 websites, as I did before, in one day. Then we actually spent nearly $1 million to understand the Google algorithm, and we failed. Then, actually, I started to work in Whitehead Industries, then I am here. So you all actually know this specific case study, and in fact, in reality, I have sent this specific article to the 5 different mainstream SEO institutions. They all rejected it, because they didn't get it, and also they didn't believe that. The 6th one, I won't mention, but you know, they accepted to publish it, but they forgot to publish it on that day, so I needed to actually push them harder. Then 3 days, nothing happened. 4th day, I realized that there are 80 notifications on my phone. I said maybe a few people read, but it didn't stop with the a few people, because many of the people, or many of the audience here, they start to understand. So I was about to come closer to my purpose in this case. So about the samples. Some of the files that I will be showing here is only for you. Probably the online version won't have these things here, so you are lucky to be here actually directly in this room. So some of these samples, they will also include some certain types of internal SOPs that I actually use, and I will also give the website name. So the first one is The Coolest, an English website, and we actually came from 800,000 clicks to the 3 million clicks in 6 months. We didn't use the links, not because I am against using links. I don't care about that part. Just I didn't need to use them. And we heavily use semantics on this specific website. AI is not used as well. It is actually a heavy semantic website, but I cannot tell that actually we had to fire 5 people during the trainings as well, so it's not that much easy too. So the first thing that I did in this specific website is actually filling the topical gaps, because this website here, if you check it, you will get it. It is a kind of general topic website. Entertainment, architecture, social skills. There are many different types of sub-segments, and I had to unite all of them under the personality types. Here, actually, you see that there is a kind of topical map that I created directly for the personality types. The most important section is actually here, the publication date. Because first thing that you should do, once you choose a topic, you should always create a kind of publication frequency. If there is no frequency for that specific topic, you won't be able to take the attention of the search engine, and you won't be able to rank higher. And for this part, the text section that you see, actually, it shows a kind of content brief that actually I use. There are many columns in this area, and every column has a different purpose. You see the headings, you see the article methodology. Some people in this room, actually, they already have seen these things before as well. Anchor text, sentiments, annotation text, which is a text around the anchor text. Nothing is random in this area, and sometimes some of these content briefs, they are like longer than 10,000 words. Imagine the article in this case. Sometimes we spent like 2 hours until I configure these specific briefs. And in these specific ones, you will realize that context vectors or contextual hierarchy, contextual structure, or contextual connection, basically there are many different types of concepts here, but probably I will call these things as basically like Corey's framework or something like that. But you should understand that everything here is basically about context. Anything you see about semantic SEO is basically about context. So sample 2. This is my favorite business model because we sell a bottle of water for 90 euros. So also we need a little bit investment for this project. If you want to be part of it, we can talk. And in this specific website, we actually published 27 articles. Only 27, we only use PHP people or real experts. And with 27 articles on health industry, we were able to take this amount of traffic. And you here actually see that my topical map, I have marketing section, mocktails, or there is a little bit link separate, but this is for internal links. And we have a kind of main topical map as well. This is a visualization of the topical map. And in this case, the section that I actually mark in this part, it is a section that I completed a topical map. So we were able to complete only 5% of the topical map, but still, actually, we were able to take the overall traffic. You see the animation of this topical map here, and all the connections, they represent the internal links based on a specific type of context. And this is the article that I have written this specific website. Before, I didn't mention the name. If this website is still open, but soon it will be redirected to somewhere else. While it's still open, I will suggest you to check the articles. You can actually see how I am structuring the articles a little bit. This specific small chamber that you see here is Svalbard. And basically, we are competing against Healthline, WebMD, Medical Newsday, and Everyday Health. Every click that we get is actually coming from the global authorities in the health niche. And this is the basic formula of the topical authority. A website outranks another website for a topic for a certain amount of time. And this will be creating a kind of re-ranking. If you're able to prove that, you are actually better than another website with certain level of historical data, you will actually rank higher. But exactly when is the main question. So to be able to explain the when section, I will suggest you to focus on the core algorithm updates. Because in my opinion, core algorithm updates is when the Google actually refreshes their own network. Here actually you see again my topical map and my content briefs and all these colorizations because I use lean management. I don't like talking to authors that much. That's why I manage them with these type of colors. And in this part, you see that there is a kind of mark. So the thing here is that even if we optimize the website, we continue to lose traffic until the core update. Once the core update arrived, all this traffic actually came back in a very much better way. This is an English website on finance. And this is about beauty and again health, same topical map and the same result. Until to the core update, we lost traffic. Then after the core update, it came back. So if you ask when exactly this re-ranking will be happening, it will be definitely happening after a core update. Until you get the core update, you have to show the patience, even if you do everything best, even if that website is the most quality website on this planet, until to the core update, you won't get any kinds of feedback from the search engine. So I will suggest you to actually keep going. The article that you see in the bottom part is actually a kind of explanation or examination or study for the Google's own re-ranking and initial ranking studies. So you can also read it on my official website. Reflecting the main topic of website. So if you want to use the topical authority, you always need to actually use the main topic. And the main topic has to be connected to your actual website's own source context. So let's say, to understand the main topic of a website, there are two segments on a website, and it is a little bit different. Let's say this website has 999 pages about porn. The last page is about Bible, which is not possible. I don't know what kinds of sick person will create that website. Definitely not me. But let's assume, and in this perfect world, everyone is like a saint, and they only visit the Bible website or Bible web page. No one visits the porn. Not that much convincing, but this is just a theory. So if I will ask you a question, what is the main topic of this website? We have 99% of the web pages are about porn, but 99% of the traffic goes Bible. So to understand the main topic, we will be looking at the web pages or to the traffic. I usually look at the traffic, and this was the reason that I actually explained the rank merge. Because even if you have high page rank, if you don't have traffic, you won't be able to prove your authority that much. You have to be popular, or you need to prove it over time. So in this case, to be able to reflect our main topic, I actually create quality nodes. So in a topical map, when you construct it, not every article has to be quality. Some of them will actually be less quality, and they will be just for covering the specific topic. But when you look at the quality nodes, they are the most important articles. And you have to put these articles to your homepage. And you need to keep them closer to the crawlers. This is the second sample, the coolest. The same methodology I here used as well. To change the main topic of the website, I create a semantic content network or semantically optimized content network. Then I put everything to the homepage. Then I give them to the Google. Then the Google does the rest. I just wait. Macro and micro semantics. In this area, I can tell that thanks to large language models and the future of the SEO with the AI, you will see especially micro semantics a lot. So I will be giving you 4 more samples, and this one here, I have an NDA, and I don't want to pay $500,000 just for telling a company name. But the company is actually from NASDAQ, same topical map, and from NASDAQ too, we have similar results. And I can tell that even if I increase the traffic, company stocks, actually they go down, and in this part, you can actually blame the CEO rather than SEO. At least when I talked to the CEO, I told this. So basically, SEO, I can tell it doesn't change the stock prices that much. This one is a German language website. It is important because even if I actually use English language in my topical map, in my content briefs, I create all of them in English, but authors write them in actually German. But still we increase the rankings because semantics are language agnostic. The same topical map and the same content briefs, they will be working also in other languages as well. The last example here is Kanban, a kind of competitor to Asana and also Trello, I guess. And the same results are here too. This was an existing website, so it was a little bit harder to configure things because you can imagine that when you create a topical map for an existing website, it is like a kind of body surgery. You just plug a new arm to already existing body, and it has to make sense. The person should be able to use it in a good way. So algorithmic authorship and content engineering. As you know, Matt Digida actually once told that working as an author under Query should be a nightmare. So he has a point there because I actually have over 200 rules, and it's not that much easy to train humans. That's why I can tell that just this week, I guess I have 2 resignations, but I actually hired 5 more, so I'm safe for now. So probably if you implement these things, you will need to do the same as well. So this is a question for explaining the algorithmic authorship to you. For instance, we have a query here. It says, what is a penguin? And all these 3 sentences, all of them actually explain or define the penguin. And if I would ask you which sentence creates the more relevance to the specific question, what is a penguin, probably everyone will tell something else. In microsemantics, we just change the word sequences and the word orders or the word compositionality, and we play with the relevance. I call it relevance configuration. And in all of my SEO case studies, actually this is what I do. Even if I'm able to increase the relevance with just 0.1%, and if you multiply it with 1 million sentences in entire content network, you will be actually ending up with way much higher relevance as well. If the query is, where does a penguin live? In this case, actually, relevance will be the opposite. For the first query, first sentence is most relevant. For the second query, the last sentence is the most relevant one. So prioritizing the attributes and the context. If you have an interrogative term inside the query, you always have to understand that a specific type of entity you will need to be using. So in this case, if you want to do this specific sentence more relevant to the query, you have to use a place name inside the sentence on an earlier point. So realizing these type of things is not that easy when you actually do SEO in the real world. That's why you will always need to actually train your team as much as possible. So to be able to prioritize the attributes and understand the context, you will always need to understand how to process the queries like a search engine does. If you use actually a single word query like penguin, you will need to complete the rest of the query, and you will always need to understand all the possible contexts. Here actually, during the Roberts event, I created actually a kind of presentation here, semantic search engines and query parsing. Nearly 80 different Google designs are actually processed here for processing the queries a search engine does. So this is just a look to my algorithmic authorship rules. I actually have over 200 rules, but this is only some of them, and I will be sharing 14 of them just here, and they are just the top level ones. And I can tell that in my experience, I'm able to just implement 39 of them with the authors. If I am lucky, it becomes 40. And this is actually a code language that I am using inside my content briefs because it's sometimes hard to explain everything to the authors. That's why from time to time, I use these type of sections. For instance, what kinds of a sentence you will be using before the list, after the heading, or what kinds of a sentence you will be using just after the heading if there is a comparative word. I actually configure everything in this area. It is a little bit beyond human patience. Sorry. So the first rule is actually be certain. For instance, even if it looks like a fact, if you tell a sentence like, sun will rise tomorrow, it doesn't mean that actually this is a fact, because you are using a wrong modality. Sun will rise tomorrow sentence is just your opinion. Sun rises every day is actually a fact. If you understand from the NLP, you will realize that any sentence with will, should, or have to, or need to, or these type of sentences, these are not sentences or declarations, basically for the fact extraction. Cut the fluff out. This is the second rule actually I give my authors. If you look at these yellow mark areas, these are contextless words. In other words, whenever you use a paragraph, be sure that all the words that you are using, they always have a kinds of contextual relevance. If you look at the second one, the green mark ones, they actually have directly relevance configuration benefits for us. So use numeric values. I always tell my authors that do not tell me how many reasons exist, or do not tell me there are many reasons exist. Just tell me there are 5 main reasons, 6 main reasons, or 7. Just use a numeric value in your sentences. Sometimes numeric values are also not good enough, and you will need to tell me that. For instance, 6 severe symptoms or 9 rare symptoms, because expertise requires using numbers, and in our case studies, in all of them, I always tell authors to just use the numeric values, use the percentages. If I don't see any number in a content, I will just understand that this doesn't reflect any expertise at all. The fifth one, understanding the context of the verbs. If you look at the verb increase, it is actually a verb that signals the health context. Improve actually signals a context for health and skill. Develop signals actually just a skill. If you go to the Google and if you check some of the verbs, you will realize that every verb is connected to a different types of context. According to these contextual zones, actually, the relevance will be changing for them too. So give examples after a plural noun. For instance, do not tell there are 40 different cryptocurrencies in Coinbase. After telling that cryptocurrencies, tell what kinds of cryptocurrencies these are. And it is important to use these type of examples as much as possible as well. And using part of speech tag, if you're able to actually go to the Svalbard, you will realize that for certain types of lists, I am always actually using certain types of verbs or instructions as much as possible. If I ask a question with how to, every list item will always start a kinds of verb. If you check the articles, you will realize what I mean. And optimize a subordinate text, which means that sometimes the search engine processing systems, they don't check entire content. If the subordinate text, which means that the sentence after heading, if it is not responsive enough, they might not check the rest of the article. That's why giving the answer earlier, as much as possible with the correct format, it is really important. Another thing here is that actually putting the if statements or because type of sentences to the second part of the sentences as well. Actually, I have some samples here, but most probably from my USB flash ballak, Matt's opened a different file there. That's why we are not able to see some of them, but later, if you share the original file, you will be able to see them. But basically, do not tell that A becomes, if A becomes B, do X. Just tell your instruction or your result or the declaration, give the condition after that. The 10th rule that I use actually, match the anchor text with the targeted web page's title. In this case, if you want to use the sleep efficiency in your actual anchor text, be sure that it appears in the targeted web page's title and also the source page's heading as well. If you're able to match them by providing contextual relevance too, it will be providing actually best possible responsiveness as well. The 11th one is do not delay the answer. If I ask you what are the benefits of the vision boards for entrepreneurs, do not define the, for instance, the vision boards there. Just tell me what is the benefit, how many benefits exist, which one is most important for what kinds of entrepreneur. And in this case, you will need to think a lot, or you can use sometimes to get help from AI systems. Another one is bolding the answer, not the search term. Basically, if I ask what is a penguin, do not bold the penguin, bold actually flightless seabird, because it is the answer section. If you bold the answer format, you will be actually signaling the answer part of your text to the search engines. So the instructions. Be cheaper. This is actually the most important rule that I can ever tell you, because if you are cheaper for the search engine, they will be able to rank you higher as well. This is actually a Google engineer, and this video is from like 11 years ago, and sometimes it's true that actually I am stalking the Google engineers. And in this specific screenshot in this area, the specific engineer tells that, but then you will pay in cost. Here John Mueller tells that because it is cheaper, and here the Paul Har tells that prove the cost is worth it. So cost of ranking a website can't be higher than cost of not ranking the website. If ranking you is really, really costly, if understanding your text is really hard for my systems, I won't bother myself. I will just go to the other website because their content is easier to process and easier to rank as well. So if I ask you a question like, which one is cheaper, website A or website B? The website A has 600 content item, 900 triples, and 59 accuracy, let's say. And website B actually has way much more content, more triples, more accuracy, and more clarity and more topics. For these type of samples, usually people actually tell me that bigger websites should be costlier for ranking, but it is not true always. Because as a search engine, my purpose here is not ranking more websites, because if I'm able to rank a single website to satisfy 20,000 queries, it means that actually it's better for me. Because to satisfy 9 million search queries, I won't rank 9 million different websites. If I'm able to actually satisfy these 9 million queries with a single website, my cost of retrieval will be lowered. And this is actually how the topical authority idea came up. Because if I'm able to provide the best possible information in a semantically organized way for the search engines, I will be able to decrease their cost and they will be able to rank me. So it's a kind of agreement with the devil. Having the query responsiveness. So query responsiveness is not about relevance. You don't always have to have the relevance to be able to rank higher. When it comes to the query responsiveness, it is actually about giving the correct information to the search engine as much as possible. In these images here, if you're able to see, I guess it's not reflected because of the light, but there is a kind of actual blind librarian. And when you look at the information retrieval, any traditional SEO methodology that targets the on-page SEO, etc., they actually try to focus on information retrieval. This is actually not the place that I focus on at all. I mainly focus on actually information extraction. Basically, inside the information extraction, we are trying to understand the sentence structures, and we are trying to give the highest possibility responsive answer in the earliest point. To be able to increase your information responsiveness, you will actually need to understand how to generate unique questions. This is actually a gift from my book, Keywords to Questions. It actually explains how the search engines generate questions, and there, I believe if you read 35,000 words, you will learn that. And sample 9 is entity identity creation. This is also about actually the page rank, because this person here that you see, Emma Killer, she was actually an ex-wife, and I can tell that this is a kind of feminist SEO case study, because the ex-husband has a kind of really strong media ownership. So in this case, Mrs. Amak actually told me that I want to be seen as an ex-wife. I am actually a dentist. I am a cosmetic dentist, and actually I have a business. So why this is actually about the page rank? First of all the news sources that tell that this person is an ex-wife, they have high level of traffic, high level of page rank. But the thing here is that the sources that I use, they don't have page rank. They don't have that much popularity. But even if they are not that much rich in terms of, let's say, historical data or even sometimes topical authority, I was able to convince Google that this person is not an ex-wife, actually the person is a dentist and also cosmetic dentist in Istanbul. It's like a kind of having a propaganda war for the search engines, because one side says that ex-wife, 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 other side I am telling that no, not ex-wife, dentist, dentist, dentist. And it is like actually competing against your competitor for telling something more frequently with better sentence structures. And that's why I'm actually mentioning the microsemantics a little bit more here. So understanding the comparative ranking, this is also important, because inside the comparative ranking methodology, even if actually we all use ChatGPT here, even if we all use AI, or even if we all actually get the semantics in a really well way, we all will be creating different types of websites, and at the end of the day, the quality threshold will be increased. And actually this creates a kind of problem, because even if your methods work right now, it will be working until someone else that understands these things in a better way come to your industry as well. So to be able to understand the future generative AI search, I actually have some case study samples there too. This website here, it is about alcoholic drinks. Here you see actually the taxonomy that I have created before. And at the beginning, we were actually taking like 2,000-3,000 clicks. Then we actually went to the 65,000 clicks a day. One day, we woke up and Google actually punished us and everything became actually 0. It was a manual penalty because they can't punish these type of websites algorithmically. It's not possible yet. And then we have started to take actually the traffic back again, but it is around always like 4,000 to 5,000, like as before. The thing here is that I will suggest you to use AI, but if you want to use it, do not use it directly and do not publish like 400, 500 content items a day. Try to increase your frequency and momentum slowly. And at the beginning, start with the human effort. Then you can actually move on to the AI. It will be more healthier to communicate with the search engine. This is actually how it looks like inside the Ahrefs. And this is actually the same structure. I created a web page layout. I created actually a kinds of template and a taxonomy. And it goes up, it comes back. So this guy is already inside the room. If you want, you can talk to him, dear Dean, and you don't need to use always AI. For instance, in this example, actually, we have used human approach as much as possible, and it was actually more successful than AI. This is my room, and sorry for looking like that. And in this case here too, the training and the results are here too. There are also these type of websites. I call them like ultra AI search, and this website here actually takes nearly over 50 million clicks a month. Everything is with the AI, everything with, let's say, some cheap stuff, but at the end of the day, still it works until someone new actually comes to the industry. But it doesn't have to be like that always. For instance, this one here, it goes to the over 5 million, then it actually comes back as well. These last two websites, none of them are actually English. One is from Indonesia, the other one is from Brazil. So I will suggest you to go to these languages as well. It will give you actually more experiments or experience chance as well. So when we look at the large language model optimization for SEO, this section is actually from the Google's own quality rated guidelines. They clearly state that human effort is part of the quality. Even if you create the best possible content without the human effort, it might be seen as non-quality and non-expert at all. So these 7 steps that I find, I believe this will be our SEO or traditional SEO methodology for the future 3 to 4 years, I believe. We will always fine-tune a language model. We will create a topical map. We will create a semantic content network. Then we will generate content. A human, actually, probably expert, will be changing the content. And at the last part, we will actually improve our knowledge base and making our knowledge base speaking AI. Imagine that you actually include the best possible expert content on your website, and your website starts to talk to your clients or your customers based on your own information. If you're able to prove your authority, they will come to your website and they will give your prompts or their prompts to your content as well. So when you look at here, anything that you see in this area, these are actually a kinds of knowledge base. Some of these knowledge bases, they have like 8 billion facts. Some of them have like 55 billions of facts. So if we find a knowledge base for our industry, the next step is actually verbalizing it. In this case, Google has a sample for that. If you look at here, from a knowledge base, Google actually verbalized that specific triple. This is actually called data to text. If you're able to do it actually for like 55 billions of triples, it means that actually you will be getting a kinds of expert level website. But if you publish everything suddenly, since you don't have historical data or a brand, it will be really hard to rank and you will definitely actually exceed the threshold as well. The example here actually suggests you to use a natural language inference, and there is an inference sample here. For instance, if you use a sentence like we paid 20 at the Buckingham Palace gift shop, and if you don't tell the currency, this specific NLP system can understand that it is actually pounds, because Buckingham Palace is located in UK, and the pound is the official monetary currency of the UK. So in this case, you should understand that this type of inference methodologies, they are quite expensive. So that's why in your specific method, I will suggest you to actually have these things without giving any kinds of need for these expensive algorithms. Give your sentences clearly so that you can be actually cheaper, as I suggested before. Another danger for us is these watermark technologies, because right now AI is able to detect AI, and in this specific research, the specific researchers here, they claim that with 98% of success, they're able to understand whether the content comes from a human or whether it comes actually from a kind of LLM. In this case, if it comes from the large language model, they use just shortlisted or blacklisted words and whitelisted words. So as I say, every word is connected to another word in large language models. And usually we humans, we are a little bit unpredictable. If you check my articles, you can see that, for instance, I always tell in this context, it's like my signature in my content, a kind of phrase signature or statistical signature. But when you look at to the LLM, they are able to imitate anyone. And it is the thing actually that we can use for catching them. The article here is about Google author vectors. Basically, you can actually get your author authority further and further, proving that you are staying in that topic as much as possible. If you want, you can read it too. So who is gonna win? We all have large language models. I have a stronger CPU, but I am not sure that it is the strongest. And we have GPUs and we have other things. We have also content, but who is gonna win at the end of the day, this specific era of the SEO? The SEO who understands, not the SEO who imitates. And to be honest, the reason that I didn't launch my course like over 2 years probably, is actually similar to that too, because I fear that after a point people might try to imitate me, but it is not actually my purpose there. Always try to focus on understanding rather than imitating someone. So the last part here, we will try to show you a kind of quick showcase how a search engine processes a text and how they see it. This is actually a Google patent as well, and they talk about cross-lingual information retrieval. The sentences from similar languages, they create these type of word embeddings. And I try the same thing in this specific tool. I give actually 40 different sentences from 40 different languages, but the thing is that I always tell the same thing. At the end of the day, the languages from the same region or geography, they create a closer embedding to each other as well, as in the research paper. The thing that you just see in this area, all these things are actually word vectors or the word embeddings as well. You can also create these things if you know a little bit coding. And if I move further, you will realize that we just zoom in to these specific actually word vectors. The distance between these bubbles, they actually represent the semantic distance between things. If I move on this one, if you click one of these things, you will realize that that word vector highlights other related ones semantically. In this case, this specific thing that you saw, it is actually already explained in Google patents as well. So this is how strong Google is. Basically, they feel us whenever as you realize, when I say Google, it just buzzes. So I blame Google, as always. So if I gather things back, basically the things that you see on this screen, they actually represent different types of knowledge domains. And there are like millions of different ways to unite knowledge domains to each other by using different types of contextual zones. If you check these specific context zones, you will realize that when I click to the ultrasonic, the cleaners are highlighted. And when I click to the cleaners, you will realize that quartz is highlighted. But if I click to quartz, ultrasonic is not highlighted anymore. So I will wait like 6-7 seconds so that you can actually watch it one more time, because you're able to see how things are connected to each other with what kinds of ways, because just after the slides, we will see actually a kind of real showcase of that. Yes. If I move on, and if I search this specific thing, I will realize that hexagon is actually an ultrasonic wave type. So in this case, this is the main context of this specific connection. And if you need to create a topical map, you will need to understand that. And if you need to cover more, you will also need to understand how these topics are actually bordered and what is my source context and how actually I can connect these things to each other. A way of doing this thing is actually scraping all these specific ranking web pages. Then you can create a similar methodology here. Here you actually see a text graph. And this text graph actually represents all the existing word connections in the top ranking web pages so that you can actually configure your own content. Here, actually, I need to tell that in my SEO case studies, I don't use any kinds of tool, and I don't support being a tool-dependent person. But if you're a beginner, these type of tools might be helpful for you as well. In the next sample, you will see that actually what are the main topics here. For instance, if you search for quartz and cleaner, quartz cleaning is the main topic. But if you want to rank there, you will need to create a kind of logical connection between your website and for this specific context vector. If I do the same for cleaners and ultrasonic, you see that actually the connections changing, and main context and main topic also changes too. Cleaning machines, ultrasonic cleaners, or again, wave cleaning, it happens to. And after every vector, we see the main context terms like clean machine cleaning or wave surface and the dirt. If I do the same for the quartz and ultrasonic, you will realize that all the specific text connections changes. And in this case, however you actually construct your own document with the headings and with the paragraphs or the internal links, you will need to understand all these possible connections, not just for these FU queries, but probably 20,000 queries as well. And usually, for this one too, we see aromatherapy design. And your website might not be about that at all, but the specific context term crystal might be relevant to your topic a little bit, and you can try to connect it to your own website with the topical map as well. This thing here, it is actually for optimizing large language models, and in the near future, you will be using these type of things. If you generate content, you will realize that some of the content pieces that you created, they don't have proper relevance. This tool is actually launched by Google. In this case, you see that there is a language model, and in this section, we actually realize that certain types of words are connected to certain types of words. At this actually right bottom corner, you see how these word sequences are actually shaped, and you are able to change these connections. If you want to create a better content on scale, and as I say before too, there are databases with 55 billion facts. If I am able to actually fine-tune my language model in a better way, it means that actually I will be increasing my relevance and responsiveness. Even if I am able to do it 1 or 0.1% better than you, it means that actually it will be multiplied at least 55 billion times, which will be creating a huge difference at the end of the day. This is another showcase actually how these word sequences are connected. If I use a specific type of sentence here, all the words are connected to each other in different ways. And you are able to calculate these, let's say, possibilities, and you are able to also manipulate it too. And I call it actually sequence modeling. In this part, this is actually my internal file. This is how actually I train people sometimes with manual ways. I always tell people that, give me a search query. Then I tell the person that just generate questions. Just generate questions. It doesn't have to make sense at all. And then you will need to interpret these questions, and you will need to write the context of these questions, and you will need to actually write phrases that can appear inside these question answers. Then, after you process your query, you will need to start creating the possible document design. You will need to write a document title to rank for these questions. Then you will need to write source context, document context, and you will need to create an information tree, and you will need to write the possible answer terms. The thing here is that the source context and document context, they are really important because these two things have to be connected back to the query context. If you are not able to create these contextual connections properly, there will always be a semantic distance and contextual gap between you and between the query. That's why usually in traditional SEO, we go to the answers like more content, more links, or more text, etc. But this is not the always answer. Sometimes I delete half of the content. It actually ranks higher as well. In this case, I will show you a section. I call it relevance configuration. There are two sentences here. I will read both of them, and I will be telling exactly the same thing with different word orders. If I tell financial advisor helps families to achieve financial independence, or families achieve financial independence with the help of the financial advisor. Both of these sentences actually mean the same thing. So from this point, I can tell that both of these things are acutely helpful. So sorry for saying that, but helpful content update can go to hell because it is not always about actually helping to people. It is about increasing the relevance. Because both of these sentences are acutely helpful, but one of them has higher responsiveness and higher relevance. If the query that you target is financial advisor, and if the context is united with the family, go with the sentence at the left. You will realize that financial advisor there actually has a heavier weight. If you check the right section there, family comes before and together with the financial independence. In this case, sentence has to have the families earlier as well. So to be able to increase the relevance and to be able to increase the responsiveness, you will need to understand these word sequences, and especially if you generate content in bulk by using large language models and AI, you will need to get your hands dirty. And here we have an example actually from Google's own support forum, even if there is not that much support there. Basically here actually, the person asked that, I have searched for where to buy purple yams, and you give me results for sweet potatoes. Because the word purple here signifies sweet, and yum signifies potatoes. This is actually called dense retrieval, but if I explain that, we can't go to party and can't get drunk, so I will skip that. So what's the game of the Google in this case? So what will Google do actually to stop us here? And here I can tell that I am glad that in Asia there is no Googler, so I can talk about them as much as I want. So this is actually a research paper again from the Google, and here they talk about response generation, because this is our next level right now, because we don't rank web pages that much, but we actually rank the responses. And here Googlers, and I believe Dr. Nayork is one of the researchers here, and he is really important person, and Donald Mesler as well. And here they tell that hard part is not generating the responses with Google Bard or whatever. The hard part is actually giving diverse perspective, making answers accessible, and also the accuracy. And Jeffrey Dean, actually from Google Health, he also tells that response generation is not hard from technological point of view. It is hard for us because it can make us feel shame. Because, as you know, in their showcase, they have given a wrong answer, and Prabhakar Raghavan was there too, and they lost like, I don't know, loss of billions. So basically, these are the metrics that they target: authoritative, transparent, unbiased, diverse perspective, and accessible, but they are actually really far away from actual results. So we all know where this animation comes from, but I believe no one checks the actual Lambda research paper. You see the same word sequences here too, how these sequences are connected to each other. And if you check the actual Lambda research paper, you will see that they have a few actually quality, let's say, filters or criterias. Groundedness, safety, interestiveness, specificity, and sensibleness. These 4 things actually, or 5, whatever, they are the most important things in this specific research paper. To me, the most important one is groundedness, because topical authority is actually about being the consensus source. If you're able to be the main source of information on a topic, your competitor will rank if only they imitate you. If your competitor has to imitate you to rank higher, it means that you can actually tell whatever you want after a point, but of course don't go so far. Just stay in the reasonable circle. So lastly, lately, and also I started to create a holistic SEO community because I realized that I am coming to 30 and it's not possible to read actual research papers like 7 hours a day. That's why I need a community. And if you want to read these research papers and if you want to create case studies, you are welcome. You can just actually search for us in Facebook or other places and select the Telegram, etc. We are there. Semantic SEO course, some people wait over 2 years, some people wait actually 1 year. But if I would launch it like 2 years ago, no one would get it. Right now, at least, we have a basic understanding with each other. So it will be coming in March, probably in 3 weeks, and we will be meeting there as well. And before the finishing, I want to thank to the dear John Olligan for following me to the every continent, and to the dear Matt Tegede for his endless support and also encouraging it for sharing more information, and to the dear Robert as well for his endless friendship as well. So, lastly, this term is coming from this guy here, whatever works hat. So I don't care about people call me black hat, white hat, I really don't care it. Whatever works hat is basically actually my mindset here. And this is my motto: black is the new white.